No, thank you. You can do the slides today. Who brought a friend today? Raise your hand. All right. Welcome. This is our first, I think, the first since I've been here, Bring a Friend to Church Day. And I'm so grateful for Britt and his music. That was so beautiful. And it's so wonderful when you just look around, when you walk around the world thinking, this is a friend I haven't met yet. Like, what blessings are coming my way today? Who am I going to meet today? I have no idea. And I had no idea that this guy knew me from back in the 80s. He showed up at the church where I was a part of for 11 years in Amherst, Massachusetts, with Pastor Carlos Anderson. Carlos and Johnny were the ministers there. And Britt was there singing songs. That was the first church where I was ordained. And the late 80s, early 90s, he was there. I didn't remember him. So he's a friend I actually could have met 20 years ago or more. And I'm so grateful you're in my life now. So you've heard from our platform leader a little earlier that this is a spiritual center. And we are part of a worldwide network of ministries that teach that God is love. God is only love. That God is within you. And that we believe in the power of prayer. We believe in the power of the mind. We believe in the positive power of prayer to heal and to harmonize and to manifest whatever you need and want in any given situation, in any moment of every day. Because you are endowed with that unlimited power. There is not one thing that God is that you are not. And so we believe in the power of God moving in us and as us. It's a positive path for spiritual living. For those of you who haven't been around Unity, some of these are catchphrases. And some of you guys who have been at Unity for a long time, it's never something that I can hear enough times. To remember, it's a positive path for spiritual living. And we believe that Christ is within us, the Christ light. That Jesus came and demonstrated a perfected soul. He came and demonstrated the principle that Christ is. The Christ principle is the perfected soul, the perfected human being. And He demonstrated that for us to show us that that's who we are. That we too are children of God. And as children of God, we have all the attributes of God. Instead of giving God attributes like judgment, condemnation, picking and choosing who's going to heaven, all of those crazy human attributes we try to place on a perfect creator, a perfect divine intelligence. And Unity has taken the reverse attitude. Why don't we discover what God is, the perfection of the universe, and why don't we try to take on those attributes instead of trying to give the universe attributes of the limited human consciousness? Why don't we take on the attributes of unlimited consciousness? Because that's who we really are in truth. We believe that Christ consciousness is why we're here, to demonstrate that on earth. So in truth, we are really spiritual beings. Christ as a divine principle is something we can attain, as Jesus did. We strive to live the Christ consciousness every day. Do I fall short sometimes? Of course, because I'm always growing. I'm a work in progress. That's where forgiveness comes in. I love the idea that I can be forgiven for my mistakes, my errors. If there's sins, if there's something that I've done against the universe, if it has a real effect in the universe, if it has a real effect in love, if it could change the nature of myself or God in any way, of course it would be unforgivable. But it doesn't. It doesn't change the nature of God, and so it doesn't change you, your divine nature. The Christ Spirit within is always the same, and you can't touch that through anything in this world. Nothing can touch that. Here at Unity, we have a mission. Here at Unity on Cape Cod, our mission is creating community, celebrating and transforming lives. That's our mission. That's from our mission statement. So we're creating a community that's spiritual in nature. It has to have a basis for which we can gather around. And so we gather around the fundamental idea that we are all divine in nature, and that we can have a community that recognizes the divine nature in everyone and let everything else go. That's the whole purpose of healing, is to release yourself from a false sense of separation. And in that way, I'll be manifesting wholeness instead of sickness. Sickness is just separation. So we're creating a spiritual community, and we're celebrating the universal love of God in us and in every living thing. That's what we're celebrating. And it is a great celebration, isn't it? Yeah. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be doing that. Because I don't believe, we don't call it a church anymore. We call it a spiritual center. But I don't believe church should be so somber and serious. Oh, God, please forgive me for my sins. You know, I don't buy it. I never bought that, you know, since I was a little kid. I mean, I had so many sins by the time I was 10 years old, I was never getting to heaven.
Look at you now.
Right. I mean, come on, woo. How do you like me now? But it's true, you can never figure out what the rules are here. What's good and what's bad. So how, you think there's some being in the sky making a record of everything you do, what's good and what's bad. Well, starting in the 1890s, two people, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, had a very different idea of what God is. And they began to pray in an affirmative way to acknowledge the goodness of God. There is one power, right? One presence active in the universe and in my life. God, the good. God is absolute good. If you can think of it in that way, it kind of takes care of all the conflict in my mind between what's good and what's bad. If there's one thing, one unifying principle in the universe, I can say, that's what I will focus on. And when I do it, something miraculous happens. The other thing kind of disappears. When I don't focus on God, the other thing seems really real. And it starts to take over my thinking. And it starts to take over how I act with people. And it starts to take over the world we live in. Because people are acting as if it's real. And you're acting as if you need to do something about it. Now you're trapped. You are in the dream. And what we'd like to do here is awaken from that dream of separation. So we're transforming lives. First, we're creating a spiritual community. We're celebrating the universal love that we are. And the next thing that happens is that we are transforming our lives. We are joining in a journey, a spiritual journey together. A journey of awakening from sense consciousness to Christ consciousness. It's a journey from limited, separate identity to spiritual identity. Having one another, helping one another to achieve this awareness of our own perfect identity in God, that's what friends are for. That's why I'm so glad we did play that song. I had to learn that harmonica part at 11 o'clock last night. Sermon comes first, Jack. Then I practice the songs. We help one another in every way possible to wake up from that dream of darkness, that dream of separation. When you really think about it, every problem in this world stems from the idea, the false sense of separation that we feel. Every problem comes from that first error. When you look at the world and you say, how can that be happening? How could this possibly be happening? It's a mistake. It's an error. And it goes back to an original error of who do you think you are? That's why Jesus asked that very important question. Who do you think I am? Who do you say that I am? Because if you can identify one person as a perfected soul, a Christ being, a light in this world, guess what? You are going to identify with that Christ being, and you are going to become the Christ being that already lives within you. We've covered over that Christ being, the light of who we are, with a lot of mistaken ideas, a lot of error thinking, a lot of sense consciousness, a lot of mistaken ideas about separation, this false belief that we are separate from one another. I truly believe it's the cause of all of our problems. And I truly believe the healing of that lies with the individual and the individual awakening. In fact, your success in this is my happiness. And that's my new mantra. Your success is my happiness. I want you to succeed in your authentic calling in life, fulfilling your purpose in life, what it is yours to do. And Charles Fillmore used to say, I fairly sizzle with zeal to go forth and do that which is mine to do. Every day he would wake up and say, what is mine to do today? And they were so focused on their friends. They were so dedicated and loyal to the people who wrote to them for prayer. You know, at one time, Silent Unity, which receives thousands of prayer requests every single day, had one person writing the responses to the prayer request, had one person writing back to them. That was Myrtle Fillmore. I'll talk about her on Mother's Day because she's the mother of unity. She's the mother of this movement. So Charles and Myrtle started out that way. And they started out as a prayer group in their living room with a bunch of friends. That's all. You're my friends. We're going to pray. And we're going to enhance our spiritual connection to the divine. We're going to affirm it together and see what happens. Look what happened 100 years later. A worldwide spiritual movement. They never intended to create a church or a movement. All they intended to do was bring about an experience of truth with their friends and for themselves. An experience of truth and healing. And that's what we're about here. That's why we, like to have our doors open every single night of the week, doing something that brings about an experience of healing and truth. To do this, I need a little help from my friends. I need a lot of help from my friends. And I've gotten it. If you can think of your greatest accomplishments in life, think of one, just right now. Think of one of your proudest accomplishments. And then think behind it, how many friends were there to help you achieve that? Mine is standing right here before you. I knew I was going to be a minister at 16 years old. It took 50 years or 40 years later, I finally did that. And in between, I love the idea it's all preparation. Because all those years in between, traveling around, teaching A Course in Miracles, teaching the New Testament, speaking in many different places, to many different cultures, many different viewpoints, the one common need of everyone was healing from their idea of separation. The one common need of every single person I've ever met in the last 40 years was to know who they are and to know God. And to love who they are and to love their neighbor as themselves. The one common need that I have found anywhere I traveled in the world was a sense of connection to the source and of worth. That I am worth something. That my life means something important. That I am a holy child of God. That sense of self-awareness of who you really are was the one common need I have found throughout the world in any people, in any place, at any time. So I've had a lot of help in my life, in everything I've accomplished. And so I truly believe that it also has been because I listened to this one scripture and I let it illuminate in my mind. It was the scripture in John 15. I'll read it for you. It's where Jesus says, "Greater love hath no man than he lay down his life for his friends." Now many people have taken that as simply a battlefield cry. I will die for you on the battlefield. But it's much more than that. Listen to what he says. It starts, chapter 15 of John, verse 12. "This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. For greater love has no man than he lays down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I have commanded you. So from now on, I call you not servants, for the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, for all things I have heard from my Father I have made known unto you." So let's break it down really quickly. Love one another how? As I have loved you. As God is loving me, I am going to now love my neighbor, which is the only two commandments we were ever given. Love God and love your neighbor. Love your friends. If you lay down your life, it means you've dedicated your being here on earth to doing some good, to truth. You've put down what you think you want, and you are following the calling of the Spirit. That's what he means by what I have commanded you. What is yours to do? What is the Christ within calling you to do? That's laying down your life, what you think is going to make you happy, and following the Spirit. I lay down my life. I give it to you. Isn't that amazing? I'm laying it down, brother. Lay down that funky music, white boy. I mean it. Lay it down, right? The Lord, just come on, lay it out there. Give it away. Don't hold on to that light. Don't hold on to what's inside of you. Some white boy's got rhythm. It's true. We try anyway. My wife says I can't dance, but I do it anyway. I'm going to lay it down anyway. I'm going to lay down my life for my friends, because that's my joy. And I know you will do it in every way that you can. And I know that you will have all the help you need. You know, when I needed someone to lift me up the other night, Britt showed up with his guitar and he played that song. And it reminded me of so many people throughout the years that have been in my life that have helped me, some of which I have lost contact with, and many of which I still have contact with in some way, and all the new friends that I'm making here. And I'm so very grateful that we're all connected by that single act of giving ourselves away, of bringing our gift to the table and sharing it with everyone. So what this means to me, the scripture that we just read, is that for the sake of my true self, I must keep our relationship sacred. I must include the lives of others in how I view myself. That's how I will experience my whole self. I must include others in my life, like all the way, though, into my life. I have a slide that illustrates this point, and it's here. It's this beautiful African bunch of children. They're demonstrating something here with their feet. What they're demonstrating is Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we are. I do not exist without you. That's a fact of the matter. And when you can remember this very basic fact of life, this very basic truth, you will never have a problem again in this world, because you will always be surrounded by friends, and you will always acknowledge that because they are with you, you are who you are. I am because we are. I am and I exist because we are. And we exist together as one. And I love the feet. It creates something really cool there, doesn't it? That is amazing. I am because we are. So, I think we're doing the same thing in our own way at Unity. I am because we are. Oh, we are. I think we got more. These are my friends. I am because of these guys, all these people in the picture. They're you. Oh, the sun's in my eye. Thank you. This is Unity on Cape Cod, and we are a gathering of friends. You're always welcome here. I love you with all of my heart. I am because we are.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.